who the hell can beat UConn? Seems like an impossible question to ask, in part because UConn right now is a machine. You look back and count last year's tournament run. They have now won 10 straight tournament games. And not only have they won 10 straight tournament games, they've basically blown everybody out. The closest in that 10-game stretch last year and this year, the closest margin of victory they had was 13 points. That's it. They've had 0 single-digit games. They have had nothing to sweat down the stretch now for 2 straight tournament runs. You forget about, or you talk about, I should say, nothing to sweat. How about this year? 4 games so far they have played. You know what their average margin of victory is? 27.7 points per game. They are dominating, blowing out, destroying, whatever adjective you want to use for just an embarrassment of a performance that they have put on their opponent. That adjective is applicable for how UConn right now is just running train through every single team they play. That's an historic pace. You got to go back to 1996 Kentucky right now, who is the record holder for the largest margin of victory for one tournament run. Their average margin of victory back in 1996 was 21.5 points per game. Again, UConn right now, 27.7. They have gotten, at some point in the game, a 30-point lead in every game this year. Elite 8, Sweet 16, 5 seed, 2 seed, does not matter. They have gotten to a 30-point cushion in every tournament game they've played this year. Part of the reason is they're a total complete team. They're an elite offensive team where all 5 starters average double digits. They're an elite defensive team. Dan Hurley has said it multiple times in his press conference. He has called this team this year bulletproof. Whether it's offense, defense, rebounding, not turning the ball over, getting steals, causing chaos, going on runs, you name it. UConn right now has excelled in every single test they have faced. But with all that said, I don't think they are impenetrable. I don't think they are just walking to the tournament and going to easily grab their second straight national title and be the first team to repeat since 06-07 Florida. I think there is one team that could beat them in the Final Four. One team left standing is able, I think, to prevent UConn from going back-to-back. And that's the Alabama Crimson Tide. Before I get into why, I do want to talk about, I think, the way you could beat UConn. Because for me, at least, I think Alabama has the offense it's going to take to beat UConn. Like, I think we could say this now for 2 years in a row and how we watched UConn just this entire year. Like last year, right, they caught fire late. They were kind of up and down. January, February, not great. They rounded into form come March. This year, they have been a machine since the jump. So they have been an elite team, a great team all season long. And I think one thing we have learned from UConn this year, whether you've watched them since November or whether you just started watching them 2 weeks ago in March, if you want to play at their style, you can win. They have absolutely mastered if you want to play their style of game. And they have multiple different ways they can win, by the way. But if you want to play their style of basketball, it's over. It's a losing proposition. You have no chance. UConn has showed you in winning, by the way, every game by an average of 27 points, you cannot play their style. You want to play a slow, grinded out defensive style game like San Diego State tried to do both last year in the national title game and this year in the Sweet 16, good luck. Lost by 17 in the title game and got run out of the gym. What was that on Thursday night? So you want to play a defensive style of basketball? No chance. You want to play an offensive style of basketball, a traditional offensive style of basketball like Illinois has, one of the best offenses in the country, second most efficient offense in the league. No chance. Lost, or again, we're trailing by 30, allowed a 30-0 run yesterday in their loss, their blowout loss. UConn has showed you, you want to play their style, you have no chance. That is why, though, I think when you look at Alabama, their style of play, They say styles make fights. I think Alabama's style is the only style left that can prevent UConn from winning back-to-back. Because I think at this point, if you're a team, the only chance you really have to beat them is just run and gun. Make this a track meet and try to outrun them. And that's what Alabama can do. This is the highest scoring offense in the country. They average over 90 points per game. And their style is honestly very similar to the Houston Rockets style back in the day when they had James Harden and Chris Paul and Daryl Morey running the show, and they were the closest thing. They couldn't do it, but they were the closest roadblock to when the Warriors got KD and just ran the West for those 5 years before and after KD. The Rockets were really the only team that could stand in their way. And they played right. The Rockets played tough. They got to a Game 7. They've gotten to Game 6s. They couldn't get over the hump, but they were the team. But the Alabama team this year, how they play under Nate Oates, is similar to those old Rockets teams because what Nate Oates preaches is threes, slam dunks. That's it. The mid-range and the Alabama offense is dead. But what that does is that leads to a lot of open shots for Alabama because they are a team that gets out, that runs, that wants to push the pace, that wants to run you out of the gym, that will take threes, chuck a lot of threes, get a lot of good looks at the rim, and take a lot of high percentage shots. Whether it's an open three or whether it's a look down low 3 feet from the basket, they prioritize open looks. And I think their style of offense is the only thing that could stand between UConn and winning 2 in a row. If you're Alabama, the only way I think you win this game is by shooting the lights out from 3. But the Tide are capable of doing that. They are a team that takes a lot of threes, makes a lot of threes. You look at Alabama so far this year, they are top 5 in terms of 3-point field goals attempted this year. They take a ton of threes, but they don't just take them, though. They make them. Second in all the country, behind only Indiana State in terms of most three-pointers made this season. And as a team, they're shooting 37% from 3, which, as a team is pretty good. That's a really good percentage. And so if you right now look at how well UConn is playing offensively and defensively, I think the only prayer any team has right now is to go into a game and hope you can get out and get hot from 3. And just try to do a math equation, which is part of why Nate Oates runs this style of offense. He was a former math teacher. He knows, hey, look, doesn't take a mad scientist to figure this out. 3 is greater than 2. And if you're Alabama and you can make 23s next Saturday night, that's going to not only obviously open up UConn's defense, it's going to get you good looks down low by the rim, which is the other shot they prioritize. I think it's going to force UConn to play a game not on their terms. Start chasing points. You see it in college basketball. You see it in the NBA. If a team is hot from 3, the other team's playing catch-up. I think that's the only chance right now of the 4 teams left. Alabama getting hot from 3 is the only opportunity, the only chance right now to prevent UConn from going to back-to-back national title games and winning back-to-back championships. Because like I said before, I think UConn at this point, you play any normal style, offense or defense, they're going to embarrass you. Again, San Diego State has prided themselves under Brian Dutcher for a while now, playing hard, tough defense. Get in your face, forcing bad shots, grind it out, play the game on their terms. UConn said, screw that. We're just going to, run you out of the gym. That's a cute defense you run. We're so good. We have so many talented playmakers on the court. Doesn't matter. And we saw that in that drubbing in the Sweet 16 and the Elite 8 against Illinois. I thought, for me personally, going into that game, Illinois was the best team UConn's faced, whether it was last year's tournament, this year's tournament. They were the toughest test of the 10 games UConn played. I thought the Illini were the best matchup, or I guess I really should say the toughest matchup, and we're going to pose the biggest fight to UConn. Number 1, offensive efficiency in the Huskies. Number 2 in the Illini. I thought Illinois had the playmakers, had the scoring to keep up with UConn for most of the game. And then, guys, as we saw, it took 5 minutes of the second half to have that lead balloon to 30, and the game is over. Illinois was held to 52 points in the game, their lowest output of the season. They ran what you would call a traditional, normal offense. You run a normal defense against UConn, they'll embarrass you. You try to run a normal offense against UConn, they'll shut it down, and you'll be held to a season low in terms of points. Average doesn't work. I don't care about Alabama's defense. I know it's not good. I don't care. They're not going to win the game on their defense. I think the only chance right now to stop UConn from becoming back-to-back national champions is by Alabama's style of offense. It's different. A lot of teams don't see, in terms of percentage of threes taken, a lot of teams don't see that style of offense a lot. I think that style is going to make a fight. And if Alabama can get hot from three, if they can hit their threes, which is going to be a little tougher because now you're in a football stadium. We've heard a lot of athletes talk about the depth perception being different when you're shooting in an NFL stadium versus just your normal college or NBA gym. It's going to be an adjustment. But if Alabama comes in and starts hitting their threes, that's to me the only chance any team in the Final Four has of preventing UConn from winning back-to-back. Everyone else has showed you. It doesn't matter. You have a great defense? Doesn't matter. Great offense? Doesn't matter. In this case, UConn has embarrassed any and every team they have played. The only saving grace, the only opportunity, I think, is by throwing a curveball at them. Right? They've shown you they get the fastball. The fastball is your average offense and your normal defense. They will hit a home run on the fastball every single time. Time to throw a curveball their way. Nate Oates' offense is that curveball. I think it's the best opportunity, the only opportunity in the Final Four right now to prevent UConn again from going back to back.